Memories. What makes you most you?
My name is Jose Marroch, and I'm the director of the Argos file. The whole thing came about because I was trying to get into VR, find out what's out there, and then I started watching everything. I'm like, nobody's actually using what this is. Like, you are transported to a world, and for some reason, everybody wants me to be a tripod. So answering the question of who I am, and why am I here, and why can't I move, was crucial. I was more interested in the abstract experience of being in a 360 world and how we can play with those elements.
Our story takes place in the year 2029. A whole bunch of people on Earth have now implanted themselves with a microchip in their brains that record their memories to share socially, and there's also an augmented reality device element to it. So when you put on the headset, you are a detective in the first person going into the memories of murder victims to find out what happened in the last moments of their lives.
The idea of investigating memories of other people allowed us to answer all those questions. Why can't I move? Because this memory already happened. I'm somebody else's memory. There's nothing I can change there, but I could rewind, I could fast forward, I could pause. And that will allow me to do all these things that I wanted to do, and at the same time, use my tools as a filmmaker. Move the actors, move the camera, have different heights, distances, energies, eye contact, and those are the tools that we have now. They can feel what it is to have somebody looking you right dead in the eye and be like, oh my God, we're in the scene together.
I met the director, Jose Marroch, at a VR LA conference, and my partner, Ben Grossman, had just done a panel. He approached us after and sort of gave us a rundown on, the basic story and the basic premise of it, and then started asking me a bunch of questions about how one might actually do such a thing. He and Michael were kind of like looking around town to see if somebody might be interested. And while that was happening, I was approached by Nokia, who was very interested in having us shoot something that would kind of spike test the hardware and software limitations of the current generation of the camera and of their software.
We wanted to challenge our camera and show it in its best light. So I had certain technical requirements that I was discussing with Alex.
They presented me with a list of technical considerations, like we want to try it with actors really close to camera. We want to try mixing production sound with the sound that comes off the camera. We want to try different lighting conditions. We want to try visual effects. We want to try integrating other camera footage. It was all technical considerations, no creative considerations, and I said, okay.
So all these things are challenges for VR cameras today, and we wanted to show that our camera can do those things.
I immediately called Josema and Michael and Josh, the writer, and I said, hey, I think I figured out a way to start working on Argos.
We put you in first person in kind of a meta way. You're playing a detective who's going into the memories that were recorded by a murder victim of the last moments of their life. And you're able to look all around and see the things that this person saw just before they died, even things that they couldn't see, things that were behind them, but it already happened, and there's a story reason for that. You're being carried inside their body. You're walking on their feet. You're looking at their hands, and they're your hands. They feel like your hands.
So suddenly we have to find an actor that is 4'5" or less, that has acrobatic skills, that is strong, that can hold a 9-pound camera over his head, plus doing stunts, having a fight, falling down. That was a pretty big challenge. Fortunately, we found Josh Furtado.
It's difficult because you couldn't really move too much or too fast, and you couldn't get too close to things. I mean, it was really interesting working with everybody and watching playback and kind of seeing what worked and what didn't, and where to position yourself. Also, how to just fully throw yourself into the scene and be able to connect and really just live it. And that was a challenge, but also the most exciting part about it.
We mounted the camera on a rig, a special rig on top of the actor's head, and had a false scarf. So when you look down, it looks like a neck. So it was all first person. He walked around with the camera on his head the whole time.
I felt like I was in like a commando parachute kind of thing, or like some kind of bulletproof vest. It wasn't heavy at all, which made it really fun to move around and actually get to do fun stunts. Like even at one point I got to slide down an escalator. So that's really a testament to the guys who built it and how well they built it and how versatile it allowed us to be on set.
So we've been trying some VR. There's no Alexa, there's no, this is the solution. You need to do VR, this is it. And also on paper was it.
The Ozo features an 8-lens array of super wide angle lenses. It's 195 degree per sensor per lens. That creates a significant amount of overlap, which allows the camera's image flow to work well with the Nokia backend software, but also it can work well with any stitching platform that's available right now. It's a very effective information gathering device.
I mean, working with the Ozo was as good as it can possibly be at this point in the VR evolution. From an on-set workflow perspective, the live playback was critical to be able to make creative decisions in the moment on set.
The day we tested the camera and we could be checking live view and doing the test that we were doing, like I could be like this and 3 seconds later I will see what's going on. I could be able to follow the blocking. I said before, distance, height, speed, movement, that's all you have in VR. So when you are able to, on the fly, change those elements, like you are so ahead of the game.
There's this kind of barrier that people feel like you can't cut in VR and you can't move the camera, otherwise it will just categorically cause motion sickness. We didn't find that to be the case. I think that we really found that if it's moving in the right way without too much parallax, and especially if the cuts are in the right place, it helps it. For our story, you're scrubbing through a memory, and so we would have digital glitches where you just jump ahead or jump back or stuff like that.
Working in 360 video, whether you think of it as a visual effects show or not, there's obviously a ton of image processing that needs to take place to get to the final product, even if there's not anything that you would consider to be a traditional visual effect. In our case in Argos, we have this sort of, let's say, invisible cleanup and processing effects, as well as a bunch of actual visual effects.
Images were exported from Ozo Creator, each of the 8 individual viewpoints captured by the cameras. They were then denoised, they were color matched, and then they were stitched either in Ozo Creator or in Cara VR's tool set. After they were stitched, then that's when visual effects would have been composited into the images using Nuke as well.
One of the challenges working in a 360 space is figuring out how to design the top and bottom is a real challenge. For instance, when you have the augmented interface of the Argos platform looking out, it's easy to design everything that's in front of you and back view, but to design up above created these challenges because we were painting on lat longs. And so we had to develop a process to where we would create a spherical lat long image and then rotate that image, render it out, and continue our concept art on there so that we can see the designs in every direction.
Compositing CGI elements into 3D 360 is something that I knew gonna work, but didn't know how well, and I think this project just proven the point that it can be done. We're very happy with the result. I think they addressed with Argos a lot of the technical challenges we wanted to expose the camera to, and the camera performed very well.
I think everyone's really learning about VR. Like, there are no VR experts yet. To use kind of a cliched term now, everyone's still learning the language of VR, and it's fun to be part of the process as people discover new and different things. Before we did the Argos file, I would have said that it's probably not a good idea to move the camera because you have the potential to make people sick. But now that we've done the Argos file, and it's a POV camera, and it's walking around literally attached to the shoulders of one of the actors, now I don't think that way anymore. And I wouldn't have known that 3 months ago, until we actually went through the process of doing it and seeing just how well it turned out.
Nokia was very collaborative on the process. They really were great about giving us access to their engineering team, to on-set resources, to people on the software side, people on the hardware side. It was a very collaborative process from start to finish. We really came away with the sense that they're dedicated to the filmmaking community that they're engaging with in terms of listening and trying to improve the product. So I found all that to be very encouraging.
Takeaways from Argos for me are that because we didn't want to be safe and we wanted to explore and we wanted to test out the limits of one, the camera, but also how can we put this whole story together. We found a lot of things where like, okay, we were thinking we can do this, but we weren't so sure, and yes, we can. So advice for filmmakers to explore VR and explore this new, let's call it adventure. Go with what you think should work for the medium or what the experiences that you want to put out, and explore. Be bold, it would be my advice.
The exciting part is that it's whatever you can imagine. There's so much ground that has yet to be broken in the VR world creatively. That's what's exciting to me, and that's why getting the chance to work with Nokia and Magnopus on this idea that we've had has been so exhilarating, and I hope it continues.
It's the amazing feeling of waking in the morning and being like, I just had an idea and nobody has ever done this before. That doesn't happen in film, doesn't happen in TV. So be brave. Don't try to do what it's done already. Don't try to think small. Don't try to just not move the camera, just be safe, just focus on the stitching. I'd rather watch a movie with terrible stitching, but it's using the medium, it's using the environment, it's using the energy. I'd rather have that than have a really, really, really boring, beautiful piece. That's not why we're here. If you like VR, it's because you are a pioneer, because you think there's something that hasn't been done before. So go for it.